Shalom, everyone. So glad you're joining us this evening. Our sages teach, wherever 10 Jews live, they must set up a building where they can come together to pray. Such a place is called a Beit Knesset, house of assembly, synagogue. And so we learn, wherever 10 gather in prayer, the divine presence is among them. There is holiness in community, for in community we meet the Holy One. Hine ma tov, how good it is to be together. How good to gather as one people before our God, who cherishes the uniqueness of each soul. Hine ma tov, precious is the gift of community. Blessed the joy of our gathering. We join together in the words of Hine ma tov on 128. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, Shabbat achim gam yachad. We continue with Maya Fe Hayom right below. Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Maya Fe Hayom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. As we prepare to light the Shabbat candles, we turn back to 120. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, instilling in us the mitzvot by commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. And together we say, Amen. The synagogue is the sanctuary of Israel. Born out of our longing for the living God, it has been to Israel throughout our wanderings a visible token of the presence of God in our people's midst. Its beauty is the beauty of holiness. As steadfast it has stood as the champion of justice, mercy, and peace. Its truths are true for all people. Its love is a love for all people. Its God is the God of all people. As it has been said, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all peoples. Let all the family of Israel, all who hunger for righteousness, all who seek the eternal, find God here, and here find life. Continue by welcoming the bride with the Chadodi, 138, 139, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekavela. Lechadodi likrat kala pene Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Ishmiyanu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. Asher lo tiferet v'litzila. Lechadodi likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nekavela. Likrat Shabbat v'necha. Yimekor habracha. Merosh mikedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh u'mashava tehila. Lechadodi likrat kala. Pene Shabbat nekavela. Hitoveri, hitoveri. Hivaore kumi uri. Uri, uri, shira baby, Kivod Adonai alay nigla, Lechadodi likrat kala, Pene Shabbat nekavela. We rise, body or spirit, as we face the entrance with verse 9. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam besimcha u'tzola, tov emunei am segula, boi chala, lechadodi likrat kala, pene Shabbat nekavela. You may be seated. We continue with Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir, our psalm for Shabbat on 140. Mizmor Shir l'yom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha, ve'emunotcha b'leilot, alei asur ve'aleina, ve'alei higayon b'chinot. Mizmor Shir l'yom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Ki samachtani Adonai b'fo'olecha, b'ma'aseh yadecha aranei, magadlu ma'asecha Adonai, me'od ahamku machshevotecha. Mizmor Shir l'yom ha-Shabbat, tov lehodot l'Adonai, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon, u'lezamer l'shimcha elyon. Middle of 141. Adonai is sovereign. God is robed in grandeur Adonai is robed, God is girded with strength. The world stands firm, it cannot be shaken. Your throne stands firm from of old, from eternity you have existed. The ocean sounds, Adonai. The ocean sounds its thunder. The ocean sounds its pounding above the thunder of the mighty waters, more majestic than the breakers of the sea. Is Adonai majestic on high? Your decrees are indeed enduring. Holiness befits your house, Adonai, for all times. We continue with welcoming our Shabbat angels with Shalom Aleichem on 142. Shalom Aleichem, Malechei Hasharei, Malechei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malechei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boahem l'shalom, Malechei Hashalom, Malechei Elyon. V'melech Malechei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu l'shalom, Malechei Hashalom, Malechei Elyon. Melech, Malechei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malechei Hashalom, Malechei Elyon. Melech, Malechei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn the page and join together in the Hatzi Kaddish. Yet gadol v'yit kadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divrach yirutei b'amlich malchutei, b'chayechonu v'yomechon, u'b'chayedecho beit Yisrael. Bagala, ubizman kariv, bimeru amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach, le'olam u'omel maya, yitbarach, yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei Depudasha Brechu Leila Min Kol Berchata V'Shirata Tush Berchata V'Nechemata Damiran Be'alma Imeru Amen. Turn the page and rise in body or spirit for the Baruch Hu. Begin with the kavanah, the words of intention on the screen. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Do you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla la la la, 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 yalla la la la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed Le'olam Va'ed Yalalai lai lai Yalalai lai lai Yalalai lai lai Yalalai lai lai la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la la, yalla la la la. We continue in prayer together in the middle of 148. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzebaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv arabim. Top of 151. We read together. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. We turn the page as we continue with Shema, watchword of our faith. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated. Continue with V'ahavta in 154. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'chol me'odecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibartam v'shivtecha b'beitecha v'mlechtecha b'derech v'shofecha v'pumecha v'kshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha v'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha v'visharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim v'yot lachem Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem, amen. Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, the giver of life who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs and portents in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom. Witnesses to this heroic might, the people thanked and praised God by name, freely accepting the reign of heaven. Then Moses, Miriam, and all Israel sang to you this song of utter joy. We continue with the words of Nikamoka 158. Yai dai dai yai dai da 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 yai dai da 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 yai dai da 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 yai dai dai da ya da 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 Michamo kai limadonai Michamo taneta bachona Nora tehilot osefela, Nora tehilot osefela, Mahachut techara uvanecha, Bokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze Elianu ve'amru, Ze Elianu ve'amru, Adonai imo. Leolam va'ad Adonai Leolam va'ad. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. We continue on the top of 161 together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, Aparei Sukkot Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Amo Yisrael, Ve'al Yerushalayim. We turn the page and join together in Vishamru. Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat Ledorotam berit olam Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat Ledorotam berit olam Beni uvein Bnei Yisrael, Oti leolam, Veshamru, Bnei Yisrael, et HaShabbat, La'asot et HaShabbat, Ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim, Asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et hashabat la'asot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Shabbat vayinafash Vishamru Bnei Yisrael et HaShabbat La'asot et HaShabbat Ledorotam berit olam. As we prepare for the Amidah, the central prayer of our worship, our standing prayer, we think about the fact that we've entered the month of Elul. We're less than a month from Rosh Hashanah and the first of Tishrei. And this is a period of contemplation, a period where we're supposed to hear the sound of the shofar every day, an alarm clock right, for this moment as we reflect on what the past year has given us, where we've made mistakes and where we've had successes. And we contemplate what changes we'd like to make, both, for the good and the things that we want to keep with us as we move into the year. We hold all these things, our contemplation and our hopes and our dreams. So we rise in body or spirit for the Amidah, beginning on 164. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agitahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, V'zocher Chasei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo V'Yahava, Melech Ozer Mashiach Magid, Baruch atah Adonai, Magid Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah Rav LaHoshia, Morid Hatah, Mechakel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somach Noflim Baruch Becholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Melato, Lishem Ne'afar, Michamo Kabal Yivuro, Umido Melach, Melech Meimid Umechaye, Umatniach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lechayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el ha'kol. You may be seated. Middle of 172. You set aside the seventh day for your name, the pinnacle of creation, and you blessed above all other days, more sacred than all festival times. So it is written in your Torah, the heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God had completed the work that had been done, ceasing then on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, and ceased from all the creative work that God had chosen to do. Our God, and God of our ancestors, be pleased with our rest. Sanctify us with your mitzvot and grant us a share in your Torah. Satisfy us with your goodness and gladness with your salvation. Purify our hearts to serve you in truth. In your gracious love, Adonai, our God, grant as our heritage your holy Shabbat, that Israel, who sanctifies your name, may rest on it. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Continue together in the middle of 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odecha levarcha bir'ah na'avon. Middle of 177. When we behold your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and stars that you set in place, what are we humans that you are mindful of us? We mortals that you take note of us. You made us little less than divine, adorned us with glory and majesty. You gave us dominion over your handiwork, laying the world at our feet. How majestic is your name throughout the earth. Baruch atah Adonai, hato shimcha u'cha na'eh lehodot. Turn to 178 as we join together in Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. V'chol eit v'sha'ah v'shlomecha. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav, tasim leolam. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses your people Israel with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, havarech et amo Yisrael. Bashalom. Take a moment for silent prayer, the words on 180 and 181, the words of your hearts. Oseh shalom imama, oseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al Yisrael. We're going to turn together to page 371, 371. So our thoughts turn to those in our family, in our community, and in our world who are in need of healing, body, of mind, or of spirit. If there's someone you're thinking of and you'd like to share their name, please feel free to do so. Dennis Linderman, Al Berman, Maurice Berman, Allison Solomon, Joan Iser, Hillary Selznick, Randy Lubradich, Roz Cooper, Schimmel family. Steve Edwards, Linwood Jennings. We hold all those named and unnamed in our hearts and our prayers as we join together. Mishabera Avotenu Mikor Habracha Limotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishabera imotenu mikor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Judges and officials, you are to provide for yourselves within all your gates that Adonai your God is giving you. For your tribal districts, they are to judge the people with equitable justice. You shall appoint magistrates and officials for your tribes and all the settlements that your God Adonai is giving you, and they shall govern the people with due justice. Two different translations at the beginning of this week's Parsha, Shoftim. Shoftim is most often translated as judges. And this week's Parsha, this week's Torah portion, is full of laws. Some well-known and some not so well-known. In the triennial portion alone, the last third of the Parsha, we read that a single witness is not enough. There must be testimony from two witnesses or more when trying someone. We read another recitation of life for a life, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, foot for foot. Those soldiers who have built a house but never dedicated it, or became engaged but not married, or planted a vineyard but not harvested yet, all of them should go back home before the battle. And that one may not destroy fruit-bearing trees for the sake of war. It is this last piece that I wish to use as the basis of my words this evening, though I know that I spoke at length about it during the last High Holy Days. As the Shemitah year, the 7th year, comes to a close with the celebration of Rosh Hashanah, our responsibility to the planet remains the same. We were granted stewardship over the planet in Genesis, but stewardship or dominion or rulership does not mean we can do whatever we want to the planet. It means we are responsible for the planet. Responsibility, as explained by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zifrono and Livracha, in his book, To Heal a Fractured World, is as follows. The word responsible is related to response. It is an answer to a question posed by another. The Hebrew word for responsibility, achrayut, comes from the word acher, which means an other. Responsibility is not something that comes from within, but is always a response to something or someone outside us. Our direction to be responsible for the planet comes from God, who is the other. We do not inherently know what is right and wrong. We must have guidance. Torah is that guidance for us. Torah is often translated as instruction. Just as children need instruction, so too do adults. We are born without an instruction manual, but we are gifted the teachings of Torah by our ancestors or through our own choice to seek direction. This month, the month of Elul, is all about seeking direction as we reflect on the past year and consider what plans we have for the new year. It is a time to acknowledge the things we are responsible for, both good and bad, as well as note what we are not responsible for. Being able to acknowledge that some things are beyond our control is also important. In Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, we are told you are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. We have a responsibility to ourselves, our families, our communities, our country, our world, to be good stewards of the earth and to take responsibility for our actions, both the good and the bad. This year, our congregation has embraced composting, has installed electric vehicle chargers, and changed much of our lighting, not all yet, but much of our lighting to LED, all with thanks to the green team. We also acknowledge that caring for the earth requires us to care for our grounds, and we invite you to join us for a cleanup day on September 18th, anytime between 1 and 5 p.m. Please see the weekly email to RSVP so we know how much water and cookies to have on hand. We also know that responsibility is about our behavior to one another, and I want to give public thanks to our caring circle for all the work they do for so many. We would not be a kahila kadosha, a holy community, without every member. As we count down the days to Rosh Hashanah, please know that the spiritual well-being, as well as your physical well-being, is important to me. And I'm always available to speak about anything and everything if you are in need. Shabbat Shalom. We're going to turn together to page 586. So we rise in body or spirit for Aleinu. Bottom of 586, followed by the top of 588. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol. Late Krula Liotzer Bereshit, Shalo Asanu Haratzot, Velo Samanu, Mishpechot Adama, Shalo Samchokinu Kahem, Bego Raleinu, Kehu Hamona, Ve'anachnu Korim, Umishtacharim Umodim. Lipnei Melech, Malchei Hamokim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu notah shamayim ve'yosed haaretz, u'moshev yikaru b'shamayim ima'ah, u'shchinatu zo, begovei meromim, u'Eloheinu Eino, Emet Malkeinu Evezulato, Hakatu Betorato, Yadata Yom Behashem.
Shevota Elevavecha Ki Adonai Hu Elohim Bashamayim Imal Ve'aretz Ve'aretz Mitachat Eino.
Top of 591, we continue together. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Love to each of us for the peace we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hand, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the lands between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of wholeness, of freedom, and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech ha'aretz bayom hahu hiya Adonai echad u'shamo echad. You may be seated. The scientists are wrong. They're wrong, the scientists. The universe wasn't created billions of years ago. The universe is created every day. The scientists are wrong to claim the universe was created from one primordial substance. The world is created every day from various substances with nothing in common. Only the relative proportions of their masses, like the elements of sorrow and hope, make them companions and curbstones. I'm sorry. I have to get up in all modesty and disagree with what is so sure and recognized by experts, that there is no speed faster than the speed of light, when I in my lighted flesh just noticed something else right here, whose speed is even greater than the speed of light, and which also returns, though not in a straight line because of the curve of the universe, or because of the innocence of God. And if we connect all this to an equation, according to the rules, maybe it will make sense that I refuse to believe that her voice and everything I always cherished, and everything so real and suddenly lost, is actually lost forever. We especially remember the yardzites of Julius Albert, Milton Brower, Harvey Kamer, Samuel Cohen, Margaret A. Denenfeld, Charles Fisher, Frank Friedland, Matthias Gall, Lowell Jeanbach, Florence Gershenson, Paul Ernst Hartenstein, Alice Katz, Goldie Kerman, Minette Halpern-Leva, David Lozer, James McDonald, Ada Moscovi, Charlotte Nelson, Mildred Regazzino, Rosalind Rezig, Leonard Z. Sachs, Fred Sellin, Murray Shapiro, Clara Siegel, Eleanor Skolnick, Seymour Slater, Leon Slavin, Shirley Snyderman, Ruth Stein. We are in Shloshim for Vicki Weapener. Additions? Rise and body or spirit from the mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal vid kadash shemei Rabbah. V'yalma divra kute v'yamlich malkute. V'chayekom v'yomechom v'chaye d'kol Beit Yisrael. Bagala Rizman Kariv Bimur Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Levarach Leolam Ulome Omaya. Yitbarach, Bishtabach, Bidpa'ar, Bitromam, Bitnase, Bitadar, Bitale, Bitalal, Shmei Dukudishat, Brechu, Le'ela, Minful, Birchata, Bishirata, Tushbechata, Venechamata, Damiran, Bealma, Bimru, Amen. Yehe Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, B'imru, Amen. Ose Shalom B'mama, Kuya Se Shalom, Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael, B'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world, to which we say, Amen. You may be seated. A few announcements. Tomorrow morning services are at Congregation of Moses at 9:30 as Evan Shanker is being called to Torah as a bar mitzvah. Masks are required, and the family is also asked if you attend in person that you do a take-home COVID test before coming. It will also be streamed on the COM's website, congregationofmoses.org. So coming up on Wednesday on Zoom, there is a 7:30 discussion amongst a whole bunch of rabbis about the new CCAR press's collection of writings on 50 years of women in the rabbinate. And the information is in our emails and also on the calendar. Thursday at 7 o'clock, and this will go out in next week's email, is I am giving a prayer as part of a teaching about gun violence in the state. Religious leaders from across the state will be participating, if anyone's interested in that. Friday night services, 7 o'clock in person and on YouTube, and next Saturday, 10 a.m. In person and on Zoom, followed by Torah study at 11:30. And coming up, religious school starts on September 11th, 9 to 12. And following that at 12, open to the entire community. We're doing pizza, drinks, dessert, lunch, followed by our Geniza program. We're going to be bearing some of our prayer books and other ritual items that are no longer usable. All of this will be over at the Congregation of Moses. Other than that, high holidays are coming up. If you're on our physical mailing list, you've got a whole bunch of information about that. And if not, it's also in all our emails starting now. Also happy to answer questions after services, which we hope you'll join us for some blessings and a little bit of nosh out front once we conclude. We're going to, I need to back up now. Psalm 27 is the Psalm of Elul, so the words will be up on the screen if you'd like to follow along. We're going to recite that before we will sing our closing song, which will also be up on the screens. God is my light and my refuge secure. Whom shall I fear? God is the stronghold of my life. Of whom should I be afraid? When those who act with malice would devour me with words, it is they who stumble, they who fall. If an army were to take up arms against me, my heart would not fear. If war were waged against me, still I would trust. Just one thing I have asked of God, only this do I seek, to dwell in God's house all the days of my life, to behold divine sweetness and beauty, to gaze and delight at God's temple. God shelters me in times of hardship, shields me in a tent of divine protection, raises me high upon a rock, so that now my head rises above the enemies around me. Let me make offerings in that tent, the offerings of a joyful cry. Let me sing hymns and celebrate the one who is eternal, Adonai. Hear my voice when I call. God, answer me with grace. My heart spoke for you. It said, seek my face. Your face, Adonai, I will seek. Do not hide your face from me, nor angrily turn away your faithful one, the one you have sustained. My God of rescue, do not desert me. When my father and my mother have gone, God will gather me in. Teach me your way, Adonai, and guide me on a straight path because of those who lie in wait for me. Do not hand me over to the will of foes who rose against me, lying witnesses and those whose very breath is violence. If only I could believe that I will see God's goodness in the land of the living. Wait for Adonai. Be strong of heart and be bold, but wait for Adonai. We'll conclude together with the words of Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Da 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 da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Da 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 da. I will build this world from love. Da 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 da. And you must build this world from love. Da 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 da. And if we build this world from love, da 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 da, then God will build this world from love, da 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 da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Da 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 da. Olam Chesed Yibaneh. Da 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 da. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're very glad you joined us this evening. And we hope you'll join us outside.